We're not going to stop telling ourselves the truth as Northerners, whether you like it or not, whether it hurts or it doesn't. But we're just going to have no option than to tell ourselves the truth. The fact is, your ideology, our ideologies and concept as Northerners is retrogressive in nature. It's anti-developmental in nature. It's holding the country back in so many ways. Let's be factual with this. Let's look at it. When the headers started making all this havoc on communities, people advocated for the anti-open grazing bill. Who were the front runners in regards ensuring that this bill doesn't come through? The Northerners. They kicked against it seriously, that at the end of the day it could not scale through. And here do we have a situation now where the Fulanis have migrated from making havoc on the north to the other parts of the country. And funny enough, you went against this bill, but when Fulanis are now committing this havoc on people, you tend to dissociate yourself. You say that it's not a northern thing, it's a Fulani thing. Nobody can tell me that. It's a northern thing, it's a northern ideology. So let's not distinguish between the tribes, because the last time I checked, the Northerners were the strong advocates. Majority of the Northerners opposed the bill. And look at what open grazing is doing to us. How long are we going to go this way? Again, look at what happened in regards to the closure of school during Ramadan. A lot of people, reasonable Nigerians, came out to say that this is wrong, this is anti-developmental. It doesn't stop you from doing your religion, it doesn't stop you from being who you are. But what did the North do? A quite majority were celebrating and were saying this is a good thing, this is a very big progress for the propagation of the gospel of God. And look at where we are now. So how are you going to tell me that the Northerners are not hypocritical in nature? And let's face it, this is what the politicians do, and who are their disciples? Their disciples are the common Northerners, the majority that are poor. The second point is the fact that when there was a bill in regards birth regulation, what happened? Who were the front runners in ensuring that that bill doesn't come through? It was still the North. I remember a senator coming to the Senate House with 5 or 6 of his wife, trying to convince people how he is happily married and is responsible. But let's face it, Oga, if you are capable, you have the capacity to marry 5 wives and have many children as much as you want. What now happens to your brothers, those that doesn't have the capacity and are marrying so many women and are giving birth to so many children that they can't control? Is it the same thing? How long are we going to continue this as Northerners? It's so appalling. Until you wake up, you will always be considered inferior to any other region. And the fact is, don't expect that no matter the agitation, no matter your grievances, this will bring it to a standstill. It's still going to continue till you change your mentality, till you change your orientations, till the common man in the North starts challenging these allies that have hold you at ransom. How many of the allies do you have their children in Almajiri schools? Why should you open Almajiri schools and send children to Malams that doesn't even have the capacity to feed his own family? And you tell me that this is not a northern agenda, and you tell me the problem of the North is not itself. The problem is we. We are the problem. Until we wake up, nothing is going to change. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Who were as well the major advocates of the Muslim ticket? The North. The North. And where has it brought us? Look at where it has brought us. And I'm telling you wholeheartedly that that concept has not yet changed. It's still in the minds of the Lord. They're still waiting for the next election. During the Muslim tickets, a lot of imams were preaching with video evidence. Even some top politicians, top northern politicians, preaching, telling them on the need for us to, for the North to have a Muslim ticket that will promote the establishment of the kingdom of God. Indeed, the kingdom of God is established. You are all welcome to the kingdom of God.
My SC viewers, this is Southlight Media. Let us quickly look at this video that is coming from a Northerner. Of course, we have been saying it that the North is the problem of Nigeria, but some people always want to argue it. I think it's not abundantly clear. This time around, seeing a Northern person coming out to say the way it is. I think in the first instance, I would say kudos to the guy who have made it very clear. Of course, it's not strange that the North is problem of Nigeria and the North is problem of itself. Number one, we have seen a situation where Fulani SSCs, Fulani military, is coming to the southern part of the country. And before now, it used to happen just in the north. Only recently, we saw Seyi Makinde, the governor of Oyo State, raising alarm over the influx of Fulani militias from the north into the southwestern part of the country. At the time, the Amateku raised about 2,000 men to come southwestern forests. And we have seen, just like the man mentioned, the issue of open grazing is a menace, it's archaic, it's outdated. What is invoked now is ranching. I think the government should do laws to compel anyone who wants to rear cow to ranch his cow. Because even federal government that intend to bankroll ranching, I think it is not the right thing to do, because this is personal business of some individuals who have the responsibility to even approach banks to raise funds to build ranches if that is what they choose to do. And again, if the North refuse to train their children in school, and their children will turn out to be radicalized by terrorists, Boko Haram, ISWAP, bandits, name it, it turned out to be a problem for the generality of Nigerians. I'm saying this particularly because if you look at the record of out-of-school children in Nigeria, a state like Kebbi is having about 67.6% out-of-school children. A state like Sokoto is having about 66.4% out-of-school children. A state like Yobe is having about 62.9% out-of-school children. What this implies is this. You are saying that a place like Kebbi, that 67.6% of children who are between the age of 6 and 15 years are not in school. That is the implication of this. Then a place like Sokoto, we are saying 66.4% of children who are between the age of 6 and 15 are not in school. And this is actually a menace, and of course, is the major reason we are seeing people who are susceptible to be radicalized. People who are vulnerable to be radicalized. Because a child who is not getting education, who does not know value of life, you can easily recruit such person and give him and indoctrinate him for suicide bombing and all that. And of course, that is what we are witnessing. So the North is the problem of Nigeria. And I think it is becoming very clear, seeing the North and are coming out clearly to say it. But again, saying it alone will not solve the problem. The government, as a matter of urgency and necessity, must start the problem of solving it. One, the issue of Fulani military. The government, I mean federal government, because they are the one that had the mandate to protect lives and property. They are the one that, though the governor of the respective states go by the name of the governor and the chief security officer of their respective states, but when it comes to responsibility to police the nation, it rests squarely on the president, who goes by the name of the president and the commander of the armed forces. And in practical terms, the president commands the police, the army, the navy, the DSS, the national intelligence agency, all the security agencies, the paramilitary are under the direct command and control of the president. The governors do not control them. So that is why most of the bulk of the blame goes to the table of Mr. President. And if the president or the federal government want the governor to share part of the blame, they should rejig the security architecture and give the governors some level of security power to parade. So that by the time we start apportioning blame, we should know where and how to apportion it. But currently, going by the status quo, Mr. President takes the major blame as the man who the buck rests on his table. Now, when it comes to the issue of ranching, I think states should start making laws to ban open grazing, number one. But we can clearly see some videos that have made around where you can clearly see Fulani herdsmen feeding or grazing on people's farmland. In some cases, they even uproot cassava and feed it on their cow. We have seen some video where you can clearly equally see cows feeding or rather grazing on people's cassava plantation, corn plantation, and all that. So to start with, I think there should be issue of banning open grazing, and anywhere it's done, the police that has the mandate to enforce the law should always ensure that they swing into action to enforce it. That's on one hand. Then secondly, the issue of out of school children, I think the government must come up with policy or other policies to compare those states that are lukewarm in all this, to ensure that they start enforcing children to go to school. Because there is no better way to explain it. There is no way you can tell me that in a state you are having 60-something% of out of school children, talking about the people who are between the age of 6 to 15 years, not in school. Of course, a potent danger for the rest of Nigerians. And I think the governors of those states should be aware of this. Talking about Kano, sorry, no, not Kano, talking about the Kebbi, that has a 67.6%. Talking about Sokoto, that has about 66.4%. Talking about Yobe, that has about 62.9%. I think those states should take note and address it as quickly as possible, because it's not just a menace for their own states, because the resources that the federal government would have used in addressing maybe infrastructural decay, healthcare, education, and all that will not be channeled to address insecurity, because no meaningful development can go on in an environment, atmosphere of insecurity. And even when you are trying to go and woo investors, it doesn't matter how viable the economy is to attract investors. If insecurity is a major issue, a situation where perhaps, I'm not saying that is a situation anyway, maybe expatriates are being kidnapped, though we saw one recently where the police is now having disagreement with the military over a kidnapped expatriate who have been rescued anyway. So if they start seeing things of this nature, of course, they will not want to risk their life in coming to invest in an environment, economy where their life is not secured. So it is irrespective of the viability of the economy or the potential of the economy. I think ultimately, if the issue of insecurity is not addressed, they are not likely going to come. That's on one hand. Then the last one I'm going to talk about is the government possessing monopoly of coercive power to deal with the already bad situation. As we speak, we have the likes of Touchy Bello. Of course, the military will always want to regard them as non-state actors. But this guy, we saw a video that went viral the other time where he celebrated burning down a military vehicle. Even though the military is saying they are closing in on him now, but it's not a record that he's been arrested. And what will gladden the heart of Nigerians, and particularly those in Zamfara, where his SSCs is at the rooftop, is to see the man arrested and prosecuted. One thing is it will act as a deterrent to others, and the people here a sigh of relief, and they can now go about their business of farming and other activities that he started before now. His activities have deterred them from doing. So I think the government should know that the Nigerians deserve to be protected. And the president that have taken an oath to protect lives and property, the governors that have taken oath to protect lives and property, they should all synergize and do this for Nigerians. Thank you very much. This is Satlamina, and I'm Mr. Martin.